Hi there. I went to another, it was a garage sale down south at one of the Catholic churches. And in one of the booths they had a bunch of these masks. They were old and they had a ribbon hanging across to hang them on the wall. They had like 10, but they were only $1. So I thought, you know what? I could make Halloween masks for the dolls. This is ceramic, but I thought, well, maybe I'll try using polymer clay. So I decided I wasn't quite sure how to start. So what I should have done is I should have taken one of my dolls and covered her with saran wrap, and then used my amazing mold putty to make a mold that I could use for the masks when I put them in the oven to hold their shape. But I decided to try this one first, so the first thing I did was I made a mold of the mask that I bought at the garage sale. I did it in pieces so that I could get all of the details in the actual piece, and you could tell that even some of the glitter came off on the amazing mold putty. But that was my first one, and I thought, okay, well, this will work, but this mask is too thin for any doll's face. So I thought I was going to have to make it wider and change it a little bit. Can you see that it doesn't fit exactly on the doll's face? So when I made this, when I put plaster of putty in there, I put it on some tin foil, some heavy, it's not really tin foil, it's metal foil, like siding, but it's thinner. And I shaped it so that when I actually poured the plaster of Paris in here, it would spread out a little bit, and that would make it fit the Journey Girl dolls. So that's how I got my mold, and it's just plaster of Paris. I just mixed water and plaster of Paris, and I got my face mold. This is exactly this, just like this, okay? So that was that. So then next step was I let this dry a little bit, and I covered it in plastic, and then I took my polymer clay and I made a pattern for, I only have one boy doll, and I decided to make him Jason from Halloween movies. I don't know if you can see him. This is the Jason mask I made. And I'm going to tell you all the mistakes I made so you don't make the same mistake. Okay, so once I had, put it back here. Once I had my polymer clay rolled out, don't go any lower than 1/8 of an inch. In fact, you're better off if you stick with a 1/4 inch. And this is just regular Primo polymer clay. Any store carries it. And then I got my, I didn't roll this one right for this mask, but then I got my mask made up, and then I just took my cutters and I cut it out, and then I laid it over my, well, let me show you what I mean. So Dana decided she wanted to be one of the minions. So I took a pattern that I thought would be a minion, and I put it over her head, thinking, is that the shape of the mask that I want to make for her, to make her a minion with this yellow clay. So I got a temporary mask here. But when you're making your mask, you're going to have to make sure that you leave enough space over here so you can attach your elastic to hold your mask on. So I don't have enough yellow. I don't have enough yellow here for this. And it's too yellow for the minions, so I'm going to redo this and add some white and lighten it up. But basically, you're going to roll your clay out, and then you're just going to cut out your shape of whatever you want your mask to be. Now, this Primo is so easy to work with; anybody can do it, and so simple. Honestly, it is. If I could do it, anybody could do it, and I'm not anywhere being, I mean, I'm just like as amateur on this clay as you can possibly get. But you can make any kind of mask you want, any whimsical mask you want, anything. And you just cut it around your template that you made, and then make whatever you want. It's just so simple. You don't even have to be an expert, honestly. I just used a regular dowel pin. This isn't going to turn out right because I didn't roll it right. but any of this. Then you can design it, you can add a nose, you can put ears on it, you can do anything you want at all. But once you have your basic pattern for your mask for your doll head, you're going to just take your clay, put it on your form, and then you're going to just shape your mask, and this clay will conform to whatever you want to make your mask look like. If you want Frankenstein, you can do Frankenstein and put the little bolts over here. You can do anything. If you want, this one I did with just plain old white Primo. You're going to have to put 2 holes to hold it on, but I recommend a 3rd one, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Because you really do need that 3rd hole on these masks on the top to hold them on your doll. So this is basically the same mask as this one, except I didn't do a very good job on the clay. But this was basically what you can use. You can do a half mask, you can do animal ears, you can put cat's ears up here, you can just tie these on, you can put ribbons on here. There's just a ton of things you can do. You can add all kinds of feathers, you name it, and you can do it. There's just, the sky's the limit on this stuff, and you can just do anything. You can do Venetian mask, you can do Indian mask, you can do African mask, you can do in feathers, you can add feathers, you can embellish these with jewels, you name it, and you can do it. You can also use, okay, so if this is a 1/4 inch, it's 30 minutes in the 275-degree oven for half an hour, and then you take it off, let it cool, and well, this would be a minion, so well, this isn't going to be, but you get the idea. So what I used for holes, I used little straws. I don't see a straw here. I used just plain old plastic straws, coffee straws, but I would put my holes in them there's one right there. Put your holes in your clay while it's still flat, so you know, because it's too hard to do it when it's on the form. In fact, do all your decorating first, but make that 3rd hole on the top, because if you don't make that 3rd hole, you're going to put too much pressure on your clay on the sides. And what's going to happen is even after it's cured, you're going to have too much stress on this form, and it's going to crack on you. So you're going to put all the weight to hold it on over the head. So let me show you what I mean by that with the Jason. Okay, so here's Jason. I used 1/2 inch rivets to hold the mask on, and I used a 1/4 inch one, but you can use a 1/2 one in the back too. But I don't have any stress holding the mask on the side, and the reason you want to do that is because I put it on originally with this hole here, the side holes that I made, just like on that yellow mask, and I made my elastic so tight that it just put too much stress, and it cracked my mask completely. I didn't tighten these down, so I can just take them right off. But be careful, because clay is clay. Okay, so what I did to get these on, I used my rivets machine, crocodile. Oh, I put this one too tight. Okay, so there's your mask. I also, I just followed the picture that I found online, and I wanted to make some, I did an extra hole. I used my drill to put this hole in after I broke the side of my mask. But if you've never heard about Adirondack dyes, they're alcohol based. You only need 1 drop, and then you mix it with alcohol. And the more alcohol you use, the less color you'll have on your design. I hope you can see this in the camera. So let me see here. So even if you use just plain white and you want to age the masks that you're making, or you want to add different designs, you just use this dye, and it'll dry on, and it'll give you a really nice effect on these masks. But you can do just about anything on here. And you know, if you don't like it, if it's too much, take some alcohol, and then just the alcohol evaporates and all that's left is the stain. But you can thin out the, if the stain's too dark and you don't like it, just add alcohol and it'll fade out the coloring. But you can do anything on these masks. And this Adirondack, these clay dyes, they come in just any color at all. It's whatever you want to do. If you really want bloody ones, you can just really get some bloody ones. It's just so simple. You can do anything. You can do whimsical, you can do like minions, you can do scary stuff, and you can do just about anything. Okay, so as far as the holding the mask on, I'm just using the Plano extra wide elastic. I took my elastic, folded it over in half. I just did it for this one because that gives you that nice effect that's on Jason's mask. But if you set your hole maker to 1/4 of an inch and use 1/2 inch elastic, and you put a hole through there like that, you'll get a perfectly centered hole. Take your rivets on your 1/2 inch rivets for your masks. Don't go too much thicker than 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch on the clay, because if you do, your rivets aren't going to be able to get in there to hold your mask on. Or if it is, don't worry about it. Don't use the rivets. I'm only using rivets because I'm making the mask. If you're going to you can just tie it on with Plano elastic. Just make it loose so that you're not stressing the mask. You're just holding up the weight on the doll. Okay, I think I pretty much covered all there is to cover on these. So, first step, take your doll and use the Amazing Mold Putty. Get the doll form head. Fill this up with plaster of Paris. It's 2 parts plaster to 1 part water, I think, and you just let it sit and get firm. Okay, so once it's firm and strong, when I put this in the oven the first time, it made moisture all the way around the tin foil, and that's because there's still a lot of water in here. It's because it's fresh. But you have to cover it, otherwise you don't want your clay to stick to it'll get wet and then it'll stick to so you have to cover it with something. So cover it with foil. Try and get your foil as smooth as possible, because if you don't, you're going to end up with, I tested different colors. This is honey, this is rust, and this was the ginger, and then I used another ginger and rust just to see which one worked the best on this. So, I mean, you can do anything you want, just anything. Okay, so you can see how I press the head of the nose into the mask, and then get your foil on, put this in the oven, shape it, put your holes in to hold your masks on, bake it, cool it, and then you can either do all your decorating with clay before it goes in the oven, or you can decorate it with, you can paint this, you can stain it, you can do so many things. You can do just absolutely beautiful things. And you can do these all to fit the 18-inch dolls. But there you go. That was my first mask, and I'll do a minion for Dana, and that's probably what I'll do for Halloween this year. But real pretty stuff. And you can do anything. You can do a whole character of books if you want to. You can do the Cheshire Cat. You can do Alice in Wonder. You can do the Queen of Hearts. If you like kabuki theater, you could do a whole kabuki theater with the white mask and the really elaborate kimonos. I mean, there's just a million things you can do. All you got to do is use your imagination. It's just so many things. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.